Hi, my name is Mark Keene. I'm here to introduce a brand new dredge that we're really excited to show you. This is called the Model 6220 Supermax Dredge, and you can tell it looks a lot different than we built in the past. It is just packed full of amazing features. We've got new water pumps, new engines, new pontoons, new frames, new sluice box, new jets. The side boxes are doing a phenomenal job. So this is an accumulation of about 70 years of being in business, and I'm still kind of blown away how phenomenally well this dredge is working. As you can tell, probably the main feature on this dredge is going to be the two side boxes that we have equipped on the dredge. To summarize what we're trying to accomplish here, we're trying to build the absolute best dredge in the world, which we have done, that is going to capture fine gold that you have never ever seen before. I didn't even think we were losing this fine gold, but evidently we were, and every other dredge in the world is losing it as well. We're actually able to catch gold 100, 200, 300, even finer gold in these two side boxes, which we've never seen in the past. We've been doing the bulk of our testing in some areas, not here in California, unfortunately, at the moment, but doing some really hardcore testing in some very practical conditions, like in the Philippines. So I've got a couple customers, or actually a dealer, helping me over there right now. So I'm going to kind of run through some of the basic features of the dredge real quick. All right, there's a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to go very, very quickly, and I guess we'll start from the bottom up. The first thing that I'm really super happy about is that we have a completely new frame and pontoon design. One of the very unique things about the float and frame system is that we have a tremendous cutback on the front of the pontoon. It has a nice big V and a good cutback this way, and underneath the pontoons, you can't see it at the moment, but we actually have three channels going underneath it. And what they're designed to do is, in fast water conditions, or even with an outboard engine, they're designed to pack air underneath them if you ever get an outboard on this thing. But the best thing about it, even in fast water conditions, even extremely fast water conditions, the dredge is going to come up out of the water. It's never going to be pushed down like most of the traditional dredges. So the arc of the pontoons, the shape of the pontoons is just amazing. If you look at the float here, if you can see the top deck of it, it actually has a texture built into the float itself. And if you're walking in bare feet or booties or shoes, it really does reduce the chance of slipping on the deck. So I have quite a bit of traction here, which is I'm really pleased. Another extremely cool thing is the pontoon system. The actual frame bolts onto the pontoons directly. So we have a combination of strength of the pontoons and a combination strength of the frame working together. So we really get a very strong, rigid frame, much more than a conventional dredge we built in the past. So, and another nice thing about the way the frame is set up is that you can take this piece and swap it with that piece, or that piece, bring it over here. There's no left and right, so it makes it just easier if you want to add extensions onto the floats and frame, or you want to put the dredge together. There's no real, these are every piece, this one, and the nose piece is all universal, so it's very easy to assemble. In fact, pretty much the entire dredge, you can put the whole thing together with a 3/8 and I think it's a 1/2 inch and a 9/16 wrench. We tried to standardize all the hardware on the dredge. In fact, you'll notice we've got these really nice handles here. So if you're if you're taking it to a remote location, you can get a whole group of people to pick it up by the handles. This also makes an ideal place to tie the dredge down to. You can see we are using the handles for tie downs right now. Another nice thing about this hardware system I was just discussing is that the bolts here, everything has easy access. There's nothing that's difficult to get to. And if you're a mechanical guy like I am, you appreciate some of the old cars, how you can actually reach and get to everything. Everything on this dredge is so easy to work on. One wrench, and you can pretty much put the whole machine together. So I'm really happy about that. One of the unique things about the frame and float is that we can add and remove these the side boxes here. And here's one of the things that I really like. What we did here is, for transportation purposes, I like to push the sluice boxes all the way inside the pontoon. So if you're running up through some rapids and you're coming up against any boulders or something, you're not going to take out your side boxes. But once you get your dredge into its location and you find that you have the dredge tied off, then all you do is you have a little quick release pin here that you pull out, and then the two side boxes just push into place. And then what you do is you rotate the knob again, and then it just locks the sluice into position. So I really like this feature for really two reasons. It allows you to access to view the entire end of the sluice box and access the end of this box and maintain all your deck space. Deck space is really important on dredges. People don't realize it, especially if you're actually sitting on the dredge all day long. You want to have as much deck space as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one out here. Okay, lock it into position here. So we're set. All right, since I'm over here, we're going to talk about the new sluice box. We have engineered this sluice box completely from scratch. We'll use some of our old concepts we've been using for years and also some new things that we've been learning as of recently. We have found in dredging that it's very important to have a lot of diversity in the riffle design that you have. See, a lot of people just have the same riffle, and we've done the same thing for years, but we're finding the more we do change-ups in the riffle designs, we seem to get better recovery. In other words, this might work better in one condition, that riffle design may work better in a different condition, and that one may perform better. So we tend to mix it up a little bit so we can work in the greatest diversity of conditions. So, all right, so the sluice box comes in two different configurations. It comes in an 8-foot section, which is this section and this section here. In fact, they're broken up into two 4-foot pieces, and you have the last section, which is a 24-inch long section, which is your sump system, but we'll cover that in just a minute. To show you what I have in the sluice, it's pretty cool. In fact, we're really pleased. We use in the front end here, I use a heavy woven wire, okay? And the heavy woven wire is perfect for slowing material down. See, in the older days, we used to use like a punch plate. And the problem is, when you have a punch plate, the gold tends to like kind of skip over the punch plate. We found with the woven wire, because it's so porous and so coarse, because you have the interwoven mesh, that it creates drag on the water, and it just really slows things down much better. So our recovery goes way up just by using this. So up in the front of the sluice box, we're equipping it with a very low profile riffle here, which is the Miracle Mat, and we'll cover that in greater depth later. And then we have a small riffle that covers up a small riffle that goes 1, 2, 3 ripples that is designed for really the finer and the smaller gold. And then we have some larger, more of a traditional Hungarian type riffle, which seems to work really well in more conventional, fine gold to coarse gold, but it catches the coarse gold and catches the nuggets, and it does a pretty good job on everything else. And underneath that, we pull out all the tricks. We got the green ribbed carpet on the bottom, and then we have the miner's moss sitting above that, and then we have our expanded metal sitting on top of that, and then we cover the whole thing up with our heavy woven wire. And again, this stuff really works well, and today it still shocks me how well it works over a riffle. Now, as you move down into the next section here, you can see we have a more traditional Hungarian riffle. And again, the Hungarian riffle is a very versatile, and a Hungarian riffle also has another nice feature that the average guy doesn't really comprehend. See, there's two types of riffles. There's regenerative riffles, and there's just like more of a conventional riffle. A regenerative riffle is more of a Hungarian riffle, and the way it works is that the water flows up here, goes up over the riffle, and it spins behind the riffle. So what happens, all the material is in a constant state of agitation directly underneath here. And in other words, even if the riffle's packed full of black sand, if that riffle fills up with gold, it's going to kick the black sand out. And that's what I mean by regenerative. A lot of guys are building rubber mats and other types of riffle designs, and what happens is they do a really good job for fine gold recovery initially, but after about 2 to 4 hours, the recovery rate tends to fall off very rapidly, where this one, with a more traditional Hungarian, will continue to recover gold for much longer durations of time. So that's why we stick with this. Now down here, again, we're going with the heavy woven wire mesh, because it creates a lot of drag on the water, slows everything down, but it still allows movement underneath. And we've equipped this particular sluice box. We're using a very large expanded metal decking material. It's not like expanded metal. It's actually more like a decking type material. Okay, and you'll notice, if you can zoom in close on this, David, there's a flat spot on the top of each riffle. Okay, we found the expanded decking works better if it has a flat section, because you have much more of a regenerative style riffle, and it just tends to work better than a curved one, like a lot of people tend to use. It's typically far less expensive. This aluminum material we're running here it's expensive. It's like $400 a sheet. I got to figure out how to do it cheaper, but it really does a nice job. I was just talking to a customer of mine from Nome, Alaska, and I set him up with this box, and he said he's working areas that people have been working for years and has worked over heavily, and he's doing a consistent like quarter to half ounce an hour of just gold that's probably in the 30 to 100 mesh range. So he's extremely happy with that. And also another guy in the Philippines customer says he's really doing well with it. Okay, so let me move on further down the sluice here. Okay, the next section here, you'll see it ends right here. Okay, this is your sump systems. All right, now that I have the classifier screen up, and again, we're using the woven wire mesh, we found it works very good, again, because it creates a lot of drag on the water, and it slows it down, and it allows the finer particulate to fall through. What's nice about this is I actually had to go out and have a company custom make the 1/8" woven wire mesh in order to get it to find just the right match to work the sluice. Now, the nice thing about this is using this mesh, it drops all the sand out. I mean, not just a little sand, not just the heavy, all the sand falls into the sump system. And that's what kind of sets us apart from the old triple sluices we've built, or other dredges that other guys are building. This thing really drops all the sand. So we have this last final chance to capture the fines. Now, what's interesting is in a lot of the other dredges, and even dredges we built, we used to put like a classifier screen up at the front of the box. And it works to a point. But if you build a sluice box that's designed to slow everything down, to allow the heavies to drop out of suspension, and allow the heavies to slide across the bottom, all of a sudden you've allowed everything to slide gently through the box, and then you're that fine flower gold. 2, 3, even up to 400 mesh gold falls right through the screen. Now, if you can show the 2 pickups on the bottom, we actually have 2 suction ports on the bottom of the box, or the bottom of the sump. And what's unique about that is it allows us a lot of control to control each box independently. So if you want to just run one box or both boxes, you can. So that's kind of what's nice about that. And what's unique is we actually pull the 2 pipes, and we pull them straight back like this, and then the hoses come up onto the two boxes. But by putting it down on the bottom there, we found it works much better, because if you were to put like a piece of plexiglass on the side of the sump, you'll see the water's coming through it and it's churning like this. It's actually just kind of going in and being sucked through, but it's a more natural effect to have it wash through the box that way. So we're getting a much better efficient pull by the way it's all engineered. So the water actually has to really push right through the sump system, creating a better drop or a better efficient separation system of the sand going into the lower box. Even this box here, the way it's all designed, is designed to allow the sand and everything to wash into the sump system. So it's really working nice. And like I've said before, I have the one in the Philippines, which is very, very similar to this one, and it is just finding phenomenal gold. Again, gold I've never seen in my lifetime. So that kind of covers the basic sluice box here. Since I'm right here, I'll probably get into the little side boxes a little bit. Fairly simple system. You've got this is an older traditional, I think it's a 2.5-inch header box, okay? And in here we actually have like a expansion or a flare going into the sluice. And we've done a lot of the average guy won't appreciate this stuff, but we did a lot of work. We wanted a very smooth transition from here to here. In fact, we even went so far as to use recessed rivets so we don't have any obstructions. When the water comes out of here, you want it to come out very gently through your side box, and you want everything to slow down and then hit the riffle and wash it a very precise and slow, passing the material in the water over the riffle board very slowly. Miracle Mat is phenomenal on fine gold. I mean, it's the best fine gold riffle I've ever seen in my life. We've compared it against other mats on the market. We've compared it against the Miner's Moss, everything else in the world, and it really does a better job. However, it does require a very precise the application has to be right. And the prerequisites to get the super fine recovery are two. Number one, you have to have a nice, smooth, controlled water flow. And number two, you have to have a very controlled classification. Remember, we're only putting 1/8 inch and minus material in here. So really, the bulk of the material that's going through here is going to be, 500 mesh, silt, and sand, and really not much stuff bigger than sand. Because let's face it, in a gold recovery system, the Sluice Box is going to catch all the visible gold. We're going to catch probably everything down to close to 100 mesh, and you'll lose some of the finer stuff. But with this system, all the sand goes into here, and all the sand goes into the side box. And I don't care if it's a 200-300 mesh particle of gold, it's going to get stuck in this riffle. It works that good because it's a very precise control. And you'll notice on the box that we have individual adjustments. You can actually raise or lower any corner of the Sluice Box. So you can very finely tune it. See these little wing nuts here? This is all raising. You can just raise it up and then lock your wing nut in and adjust the box. All right, so now I'm at this end of the dredge. We're going to talk about what we've done with the pump and the plumbing of the dredge. By the way, I love the way this thing feels. You could put on this upper deck, I could probably carry my fuel, my toolboxes, an ice chest. It's just really nice, and I think I'm actually going to get like a little beach chair that I can set up here with a little umbrella. Let's talk about the motor and the pump here. Probably the base model that I'm going to sell these with is going to be the 10 horsepower Vanguard engines. And I picked these because it's a lot of motor in a very small, light package. And I really like the Vanguard engines. They're definitely equivalent to, let's say, one of the upper end Hondas, a GX series. But it's a little bit less money, it's a little bit less weight, and I really like them because I've been selling these for about 25 years now, and I've sold literally thousands and thousands of the Vanguard series, and I've never had a single problem. Now what we're driving is a brand new PHP 500 pump, and this pump, it's more of a, if you look at when we talk about dredging, it's more of a pressure pump than it is a volume pump. It does probably, around 400 gallons a minute, but it has a very high head. I can get about probably 70 psi out of this pump. The normal working pressure on this unit with this particular plumbing setup is in the neighborhood of about 41, 42 psi. It's a much higher working pressure. Now we've done recently, not to get into the jet system, we've done a lot of fine tuning and getting the power jet dialed in to match this pump. And I was very surprised how well everything did work. It really turned out fantastic on the performance. But let's talk about what it's plumbed for. On the pump, because of the side boxes and the cleanup procedure, we've added quite a bit more plumbing than we normally would. So we have a 2.5 inch ball valve right here, so you can actually control the flow going into the jet. Here I have a 1 inch ball valve, okay, and this here is to control the water flow going into your side boxes. This actually you can actually adjust your suction and your water flow going into each side box. And this Y splitter here is on the bottom here. I have I'm running a full 1 inch pressure hose, 1 inch ID, and we're running a high flow ball valve, and we're running a 1 inch blaster hose, and that's used to wash out cracks and crevices. And if you have sand getting on the deck of the dredge, you can use it as a hose to clean the whole thing off. And if you want really super high power, you can always close your ball valve right here, and all of a sudden you're running it at probably close to about 65 psi on this pressure hose. Boy, I really love this deck. It's so handy. I'm not used to being so comfortable on a dredge. But if you look down here, you'll see that we've got a very robust jet support bracket or jet support strap. And then we've on this new power jet, we've incorporated a full 2.5-inch pressure hose going into each side of the power jet. And then we've done some very fine tuning with the orifices in the power jet. So the vacuum we're getting off this dredge will scare the hell out of you. I mean, we're probably pushing 7-8 inches of vacuum with a 20-foot piece of hose, and that just isn't normally seen in a conventional gold dredge. Since we're talking about the plumbing of the dredge, this is the 1-inch pressure hose that runs down the side of the machine. What's nice is we've been able to route all our lines in between the frame and the float, so nothing hangs below the dredge. The whole machine can work like in 6 inches of water. Everything's set up high enough where you don't have any obstructions. If I was going to transport it through, let's say, rapids or something, I would pull my 2 side boxes in. I would probably raise my sluice box just a couple inches so the sump isn't hanging down. And I would take my power jet and I would raise it up and then strap it to the top. So the lowest portion of the dredge is going to be the pontoons. That's how it should be. But anyways, back to where I was talking about. The 1-inch pressure hose, what this does is it runs to a small power jet here. Okay, and so what we do is we looked what we saw previously, you have 2 2-inch hoses that are connected to the bottom of the sump system. Well, we pull all the sand, 1/8 inch minus, through the 2-inch hose, and it joins right here into a small power jet. And the power jet is 2-inch on one side and 2.5-inch on the other side. And we do that transition. It just makes it more efficient to lift material out of the water. So then the material is pumped directly into our side boxes. So the plumbing is relatively simple. You know, believe it or not, it took a lot of tweaking and a lot of testing of orifices and positioning and the length of hose just to get it dialed in, but we did a really good job, and it just works. It works fantastic. All right, I'm going to talk about cleaning up the dredge right now. Because we already have 2 side boxes with the Miracle Mat, we've already really provided the ultimate in a concentration machine. It'll do basically the same thing as a wheel or some of the other fancy mats or some other type of, either gold panning or some other kind of like a shaker table. But you've already got the optimum recovery system right here, so you might as well take advantage of it. See, most of the time when you're running, like let's say a 6-inch dredge, you're going to be transporting home, let's say, 4 or 5 gallon buckets of concentrates at the end of the day. Well, that's a lot of material to sort through. That can take hours and hours to process that material. But you've already got the ultimate concentration system right here. So the best way to handle it is to let the dredge do the work for you. So we've already talked about the woven wire here. So what you do for a cleanup is, let's say we've been running for 4 hours, a tank of gas, let's say. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first go up and I'm going to clean both my side boxes out. And that's probably where I'm going to find the bulk of my 100, 200, 300 mesh gold is going to be in the side boxes. So I'm going to clean them up, wash them out into a wash tub, but really all the concentrates I'm going to have in these 2 side boxes really isn't going to come up to be more than, let's say, let's say if it's a standard large coffee can, about maybe a quarter full coffee can, or maybe even an 1/8 inch full of a coffee can of concentrate. Not much volume. But we've already got these here, so we might as well use them to clean up the main sluice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my main classifier stream right here, and I'm just going to remove this, set it to the side. Okay. Now again, here's another shot of the inside sump pickups, if you can see that. You don't put your hands there. I already was stupid enough to do that today. I almost got my fingers sucked in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another wire mesh screen, and this is a much coarser. I think it's about a 1/4 inch. Just take it over the edge here a little bit. Perfect. And now to do a cleanup, when I start right here, I'm going to take this riffle board here and I'm going to remove it. I'm going to flip it upside down and I'm going to wash the carpets out into the sluice itself. Now remember, there's water running through the sluice. We have 1 pump running at about half throttle, okay? So I'm going to take this classifier screen out here. I'm going to take my riffles out. I'm going to take my carpet. I'm going to wash the carpet right down into the main box right here, okay? Now keep in mind, the sump is still working. The sump is sucking the concentrates up into the side boxes. Then I'm going to set these ripples off to the side, then I'm going to go to the next one, I'm going to clean it out, and then I'm going to go to the very top, and I'm going to clean it out. I'm going to let all my concentrates wash down into the center box. Now, we do have a 1/4-inch screen here, and you don't want to run over 1/4 inch into here. Now, you'll notice, if you can show the little teeny riffle in the side box there, you don't run that little upper riffle unless you're doing the cleanup procedure. So now what I'm going to do is, I've now got all my ripples are removed, okay, and I have just one engine running, and all the material is washing over here. I might even have to rake some of the rocks out. And if you do have any big gold, you want to check along this line here, because you could have hopefully some gold nuggets piled up on the screen, but you don't have enough water velocity and enough force to wash the gold over the edge. So now that I've sucked all my material into my sump, now my concentrates are in my side boxes. So I'm going to take each of the top ripples, for the coarse gold, I'm going to remove those in the side boxes. Then I'm going to remove my mat. Now, here's the cool thing. A normal cleanup procedure would probably take us, let's say, if you have a little practice under normal conditions, maybe 20, 30 minutes, something like that. But with this process here, we can take that same cleanup process, we can probably kick it down to maybe 10, 15 minutes, which is an amazing time saver. And instead of taking your 2 to 4 or 5 gallon buckets back to camp, you take now maybe a half a coffee can of concentrates, and you're going to have the cleanest, purest black sand and gold you've ever seen. So we've now eliminated going back to camp and processing, massive amounts of concentrates. Let alone you're going to save gold like you've never seen in your life. Remember, the Super Max series with all the side boxes and stuff, it is capable of recovering 1, 2, 3, 4, even some 500 mesh gold. It really is a completely cut above any machine ever built in it. Our 6220 Max Dredge. Now it's the same as the Super Max Dredge, same flotation, same sluice, same motor and pumps, same flotation, pretty much it's identical. The only difference is that we've taken the sump system off, we've taken the side boxes off, and this is what you'd consider a more traditional dredge. Now, even though we've removed the sump and the side boxes, we may not capture that 100, 200, 300 mesh gold we were before, but to be honest, if I was going to California or Oregon or a lot of the different dredging areas in the world, this would be just fine, because I know we've done a lot of tricks on the fine gold recovery. But anyways, it gives you another nice view of the dredge. And you'll notice a couple things. You can probably get a little better view of the nose of the dredge, and you can tell the dredge has a lot of flotation. Now, I'm about a 200-pound guy, and even when I walk out here at the very end of the dredge, I can't push the nose underwater. And most dredge, you do that, the whole thing's going to practically flip. So we have extremely high stability, and even in fast water conditions, this thing's going to be a dream.